Hey there, happy Thursday afternoon. It's Leslie Dories, and I am the owner of Foundations Coaching NC, and I'm also the creator of the Hero Husband Project. And I'm so glad you're here. And I just moved into my brand new office, so the lighting's not great yet, and I don't have anything on the walls. But I didn't want to wait until everything was perfect to come back and talk about what I think is a really, really important topic for marriages and relationships, and that's communication. Communication, like love, is a necessary but not sufficient condition for a great relationship. If you can't communicate well, you're not going to be able to solve any of the challenges and everyday things that crop up. Now, communication is one of the big things that people contact me about. I've had so many couples come into my office, and one or the other of the people will say, "We don't communicate." And that's not entirely true, because we're always communicating. Now, with the possible exception of when we're asleep, that may be the one time when we're not communicating. But other than that, we're always communicating. What my couples are telling me is they don't like what's being communicated. And that is a big, big issue. So one of the things that gets us into trouble in communication is that English, if that's your natural language, but any language, is completely insufficient. We use words that don't necessarily mean the same thing. Several years ago, I had a couple come in. They were not in a good place when they started to see me, obviously. And she was going to go away for the weekend. And what he said to her was, "I don't want you to go." What she heard was, "I'm forbidding you to go." And what he meant was, "I'm going to miss you." But because they didn't interpret that one sentence, "I don't want you to go," in the same way, they ended up having a really big fight and actually not talking to each other for a couple of days. So you would think that that would be a pretty common thing, right? But here's the deal. We know most of the time what we need to say when we say it, but that isn't necessarily the way our partner hears it. And here's the reason why. Words, the actual words we use, are only about 7 to 10% of what is actually being communicated. The rest, facial expression, body language, tone of voice. And I'm sure you've been in a conversation with somebody, maybe your partner, where they tell you that they don't like your tone. And you're trying to figure out, what's wrong with my tone? Because we don't hear ourselves. We can't see our face. I happen to have an RBF, resting bitch face. So people constantly, if I'm not talking or engaged with somebody, if I'm just kind of sitting there, they think I'm mad. I'm not angry, it's just my face. But if somebody keeps trying to convince me that I'm mad, guess what? I'm going to end up mad. So we have to be as aware as we can, not just of the words that we use, but also everything around it. And if your partner has a certain expectation of you, that maybe you are angry, or maybe you don't listen, or whatever it might be, that's the lens that they're going to be seeing and hearing you through. I happen to be I could be sarcastic, and so sometimes that gets taken as that I'm being mean, and I don't really mean it that way, but I've hurt people's feelings, and I didn't mean to, but because I was being sarcastic and I thought I was kind of being funny, and they didn't take it that way. So instead of getting really upset and go, "Oh, you're too sensitive, blah, blah, blah," I had to take into account that they have a different experience. And that's, again, one of the challenges. And this is why, guys, there's a lot of miscommunication when we text and email each other. Because when we do texts and emails, all we have are the words. And even if we put in the emojis, and even if we do all those things, it may be misinterpreted by the receiver. And this is where miscommunication comes in. So part of this is really taking a moment and being open to hearing what it is that your partner is experiencing. Just like that couple in my office years ago, they completely didn't understand what the other person was saying. So as I said, learning how to communicate is one of the first steps in being able to have a really fantastic relationship. So hopefully this has been helpful, and I would love to hear your comments, and keep listening because this whole month I'm going to be talking about communication. And so let me know what your biggest communication issue is in your relationship. I'm going to be doing the Facebook Lives every Thursday afternoon, so hopefully you'll keep tuning in. And until next week, have a great time.